Merry Christmas, everybody. Welcome back to the NFL 2K5 Atlanta Falcons franchise. Today, we're going to be recapping the 2022 season, starting with the AFC standings. In the North, the Browns with Deshaun Watson win the division at 10-6. The Ravens get a wild card berth at 9-7. The defending AFC champion Bengals go 8-8, and the Steelers go 6-10. The Colts live up to the hype in the South. They get a first-round bye with a 12-4 record. Everyone else there had a losing record. In the East, the Bills went 14-2 and got themselves the 1 seed. The Dolphins went 8-8, and the Jets and Patriots went 5-11. And the West hyped up all offseason 11-5. The Raiders win it. The Chargers, despite losing their last 5, I think it was, at the end of the year, got themselves a wild card spot. The Chiefs also 8-8, but they're on the outside looking in. The Broncos 7-9. In the NFC, the Packers get a first round bye, 13-3 record. The Vikings go 11-5, get a wild card berth. The Lions and Bears finish with losing records. The Buccaneers nearly go undefeated. They were a 3-point game away from being 16-0. We go 9-7 and get the 6th seed. The Panthers 8-8, the Saints 7-9. The Cowboys went 11-5. The Giants 8-8. The Eagles and the Redskins were awful, very different to real life. And then the 49ers 11-5. The defending Super Bowl champion LA Rams missed the playoffs. What else is new? The Cardinals go 7-9, and the Seahawks are on the clock with a 2-14 record. Tom Brady had the best quarterback rating in the league. Aaron Rodgers, Josh Allen behind him there. Aaron Rodgers with the highest completion percentage in the league. Josh Allen with just over 5,000 yards. Herbert and Rodgers behind him. Most touchdowns goes to Tom Brady at age 45. He had 38 touchdowns, 37 for Josh Allen, 36 for Trey Lance. Dak Prescott with 35. And then when it comes to interceptions, Drew Lock threw 24, Ryan Tannehill 22, Justin Fields threw 21. Jonathan Taylor led the league in rushing by almost 500 yards, ahead of Mike Davis of all players, 1,300 yards for second. Then you got Raheem Mostert, Dalvin Cook, Alvin Kamara, Ronald Jones up there, and then you got Derrick Henry all the way down there. When it comes to the longest play, Jonathan Taylor, Raheem Mostert, there were actually a handful of players with 98-yard runs there. Most rushing touchdowns goes to Devin Singletary of the Buffalo Bills, a team that doesn't run the ball a lot. Jonathan Taylor and Aaron Jones with 13 each, and Jones missed a good amount of time this season too, so that's impressive to see. DeAndre Hopkins and Cooper Kupp led the league in receptions. Mark Andrews and Justin Jefferson behind them all, but Kyle Pitts continued his dominant season. Just a spectacular sophomore year for him. 1,400 yards by a tight end. That is just crazy. Deebo Samuel had 11 touchdowns, and then Kyle Pitts was one of 4 players with 10 touchdowns. Shaq Leonard had 140 tackles, tied with Jamie Collins there. Most sacks goes to Joey Bosa. He had 17, just passing Cam Hayward at the end of the season. And then interceptions, Jamal Adams and Trevon Diggs each had 10. Marcus Mariota was our quarterback a good chunk of the season. He finished with just a 46% completion percentage, though, just over 3,000 yards, 21 touchdowns to 15 interceptions. He then got benched late in the season for Desmond Ridder, who also had to come in due to some Mariota injuries. He threw 6 touchdowns, 7 interceptions, had a much higher completion percentage though, 1,300 yards, and he's going to be our quarterback going into the playoffs. The ground game was incredibly slow to start this season. We really did start to pick things up as I was starting to figure things out at the end of the year. Cordell Patterson with just over 500 yards, but I take responsibility there for most of the lack of efficiency on the ground game. Mariota, Desmond Ridder also ran the ball nicely. 6 touchdowns for Patterson. I think almost all of those came in the second half of the season. Obviously, Kyle Pitts leads us in everything receiving, but how about Bryan Edwards? Traded here, he had 1,000 yards and 5 touchdowns. Much different to real life. He's not even on the Falcons anymore. Drake London, a potential Rookie of the Year candidate, 800 yards, 6 touchdowns for him. Olamide Zaccheaus, clutch, especially in overtime, 700 yards, 5 touchdowns for him. Tajay Sharp, no touchdowns. Patterson, only 20 receiving yards. You had Darby there with 1 touchdown, but really after Zaccheaus, the receiving numbers really fall off. Deion Jones led our defense in tackles. Troy Anderson was not as involved this season as I may have liked him to be, but Deion Jones could very well get traded in the offseason just because he got traded in real life to the Browns midseason, but we were past the trade deadline by the time that happened. 5.5 sacks for Tyler Davidson. This team needs a pass rusher. Grady Jarrett is supposed to be that guy for us, but he only had 5 sacks this year. We did not get to the quarterback as often as I would have liked. But we did pick off the quarterback a fair amount. 8 interceptions for Casey Hayward, 7 for A.J. Terrell. Hawkins had 3, then 2 for Deion Jones, Troy Anderson, Eric Harris, and Trey Webb. Young Ho Koo didn't have a great year, 14 of 22 kicking, but again, this is just an area where I need to get better at kicking because he is one of the best kickers in the league, and I just kind of suck at kicking in this game so far, so most of those misses are on me. Josh Allen is your league MVP. We already saw a lot of his numbers, over 5,000 yards and 37 touchdowns, well-deserved there. Your offensive player of the year goes to Justin Herbert, who had just a little bit less touchdowns and yards. He was the MVP favorite for the first half of the year, but losing 5 straight at the end will really knock down your chances. Defensive player of the year goes to Jamal Adams. At least the Seahawks had one bright spot this season. And offensive rookie of the year, this is where things get a little bit shaky. It goes to Trey Lance because I'm using 2021 rosters that I updated with rookies. So we're going to actually go in and give someone the actual award there. Same for defensive rookie of the year. Kenneth Walker is a player who could be considered for Rookie of the Year. He had 1,000 rushing yards and 7 touchdowns. Our very own Drake London could as well with his 800 yards and 6 touchdowns. You could give Defensive Rookie of the Year to Jermaine Johnson of the Jets, 8 and 5 sacks. Kayvon Thibodeau had 7, but I think it should go to Derek Stingley. He had 6 interceptions for the Houston Texans. He also had a sack, 83 tackles. I think he's the one who deserves it here. Stingley also had 20 passes deflected as opposed to someone like Sauce Gardner's 12. So I think he's going to get Defensive Rookie of the Year, and we'll just say that Kenneth Walker won Offensive Rookie of the Year. Taking one last look at the final season power rankings, the Bucs are the #1 team. Then you got the Bills, the Packers, the Colts, the Cowboys, the 49ers, the Vikings, Raiders, Browns, Ravens, Rams, Chargers, Chiefs, Bengals, Falcons, Dolphins, Panthers, Giants, Titans, Saints, Cardinals, Broncos, Lions, Steelers, Jets, Bears, Jaguars, Patriots, Eagles, Texans, Redskins, and finally the Seahawks. Our game against the 49ers is the last of Wild Card Weekend. The other games had the Browns beating the Ravens, the Chargers over the Raiders, and the Cowboys over the Vikings. So next week is our first playoff game in the series against the team we started against, the San Francisco 49ers. Thank you guys so much for watching today's video. If you enjoyed it, leaving a like is always appreciated. And until next time, this has been Jeffrey, reminding you to stay moist.